All right, we're on.
Hi there. Welcome to Peppers and Flowers, where sales and marketing doesn't make sense. Please join us for the conversation.
Okay, so I got something really cool for our topic today. When it's actually it's a cool segue that relates to both sales and marketing, I think perfectly. So it's be interested. Like I think this is your concept actually. You say be interested, not interesting, which kind of like took a second for me to wrap my head around because I'm thinking, no, don't you want to be interesting, but also be interested? I don't know. It took me a sec to wrap my head around that. But then I thought, no, it actually makes a lot of sense because in like advertising or marketing, for some reason, I think I've said some sort of things like this before, but for some reason, companies kind of like jump in front of you and expect you to just know all the information you want. They go, I'm running an ad that's going to give so much urgency. You're going to want to purchase it instantly. So like every person, doesn't matter what industry, if you go into any industry and look at their advertisements, they're all set up and designed for like front end revenue, which basically means that they're all targeting that 1 to 3% that are actually looking to buy right now with their credit card in everyone's going after that small audience, and all their advertisements are like that. And so they're all trying to be interesting. They're all trying to like entice them as much as they can to get that instant sale. But there's like 99 to 97% of everyone else that no one's going after because no one wants that back end revenue, right? So no one wants to go, well, look, most people aren't ready to buy now. And even if they're considering, they probably aren't there quite yet. So we're going to run advertisements that might be interesting, but are a little more interested in like, how can we help you to fit your specific needs better, nurture that lead, and on the back end, you get the sale out of it.
Absolutely.
No one wants to invest for the long term to do that.
Right.
You know, people want to scale in 3 months. They don't want to scale in 18 months.
Right. No, absolutely. If you look at lead nurturing, that whole aspect of lead generation is that's a science in and of itself. You know, how do I nurture the audience out there to really bring them to become a lead? And so what that means is you're putting out information that would benefit them, informing them and educating them. And then over time, they feel like, yeah, you know, I know enough about what's going on with this new product or service. And yeah, I want some more information. Put me on the newsletter list or send me some emails or, you know, send me a quote even. And so it's like, but to get to that point where that lead's nurtured, that takes a lot. It could take a few steps just to get there. And so I think if companies really do the thinking up front to put time invested into how do I nurture leads the best, you'll get not only leads, but you'll get more qualified leads and leads that will lead to a stronger chance of closing as well. So yeah, and that whole aspect of being interested, that's where it all comes into play. I mean, if I was just tooting my own horn, saying, look how interesting I am, look how cool I am, look what kind of products and gadgets we have at my XYZ company. Yeah, that's great. But people sometimes at the end of the day, they don't just need another product or service. They want to know, you know, how are you going to solve my problem? How are you going to help my issue? And so that's kind of what we need to bring to bear. And if we ask good questions, get to know our prospects better, that's all part of being interested and not interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you have a company that says we want to scale, right? We want to grow. Okay, so we need to do what no one else is doing, because if we start competing and doing what everyone else is trying to target, which is that short-term quick sale, we're not going to get anywhere. Also, if a company says something like, you know, okay, so they make $1,000 per client or whatever, you know, per sale. And you go, okay, how much of that revenue do you want to put back in to get a new client? So if they say like $100, or if they say like $50, you can kind of tell like, okay, this might not work for them. I can already tell like they're not as serious as they should be, because to really get to the next level really takes so much effort and time and 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 just pushing forward. Like it's not, it takes a lot of risk to do that. And you really have to be like ready to get uncomfortable in a way, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't just scale off the luck of hitting that 2% of people who are ready just to purchase now, you know, which is why a lot of companies face the same problem. They think I'm gonna give other agencies the benefit of a doubt, right? So probably majority of agencies out there, marketing agencies, are pretty decent. It's just my opinion. I feel like you can find pretty decent marketing agencies, and probably a reason why they don't work for you. Probably this is my opinion. I'm just talking off the top of my head. Um, Probably the reason why it doesn't work for you is because you're trying to get too big of results off the littlest effort put into it. And if we don't hit a consistent stream of those 2% of the people population ready to purchase now, if we don't hit that instant purchase formula thing, then it's, you guys suck. It's not working for me. You're not the right scaling partner. Where it's actually the other way around, where it's look, you might want to scale, but you read too many like get rich quick books and guru stuff. You don't
Mm-hmm.
realize that, maybe this guy became a millionaire because he lived like a poor man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
everything he got, he put into his company to scale it. He didn't use his money to go buy like fancy things or anything like that.
Sure,
So
absolutely.
like it's a push. You should be in it for the long run and know, like, if you're doing leads, you got to go after a starving market. You got to go after the 97%. You got to go after that lead nurturing. You got to have a strong sales process and keep up with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and process is the right word. If you think that, oh, I'm just going to go out there and make a quick sale, and that's kind of the end goal, you're really, not seeing the whole picture. And when you have a process, now you're thinking, generates over time, and not only a business. And so when you have a deeper process like that, you're going to put more time, energy, and effort into obviously coming up with good campaigns with good questions and good value add to prospects, and really generate content that's going to be convincing and help people understand and educate as well too. I think
Yeah.
education is a big I think this whole aspect of educating is big because you know some people don't know about the product or services being offered. I mean, sometimes we get so we can get myopic. That's kind of where you're short-sighted about things, because we think, well, I know this product inside and out. Well, then maybe everybody else does too. But even the most simple product, people might not even know about. And so we have to come across as educators as much as we are advertisers and marketers, because um, the language we use, the detail of description, I mean, all those things that come into play when talking about a product or service has to be explained out so people are on the same page with us. And I think that's something we can do maybe a little bit better job of as far as helping people get to the same page.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's you have to have the right mindset. You just do. You can't if you're not in the right mindset, then it's just like, okay, let's touch base in a year or two, when you're ready to do things. Because what you don't want to have is the wrong mindset. You help them scale, let's just say, and it starts working. And they go, oh, we have to like expand now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of like, well, duh, like that's what we're doing here.
Right.
I don't know, so it's kind of goofy sometimes. It's unfortunate though, because there's, online is so powerful. It's extremely powerful. And it's only getting more robust, and a lot more tools are coming out, more options. It's kind of getting easier and easier in terms of
Yeah.
like tools to use and systems,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. So the amount of systems you have online are so built out, you can really just, there's no limitations, honestly, for
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep.
And
Yeah. No, that's true.
right.
Yeah.
But the problem is that, um, people are reading too much of this click funnel thing, with people who are like, if I just run the right funnel and run the right ad to become a millionaire in a month,
Right.
people
Right.
believe
Right.
that.
Yep. Yep.
And that's the unfortunate thing, because there's so many people on earth, right? Billions of people, that it's just numbers, right? If you have one person if you have 8 billion people or 10 billion people, I don't even know how many people on earth right now, but, and they all do the same thing. They all run an ad in a funnel. There's going to be a certain percentage of them who do become millionaires in a month. It just happens, it's
Uh-huh.
just bound to happen,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so many possibilities. They like flip the coin right, and they lucked out. The super right. But in the big scheme of things, that's not really how things work. For the end results that you see, which is guys driving around Bentleys, right, selling programs, they took, who knows how long they took to get there. You don't see the process. You don't know what they went through. You only see like where they ended up. And that could have been a 10-year process. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot more to it than just, run a funnel and ads. It's more the systematic part of it. Those are just tools, right? The solution is not Google ads and funnel. The solution is okay, the messaging, the psychology, the market, the offer, the sales process. Those are the solutions. And then you just use like online tools as like vehicles or tools, and it
Yeah.
kind of relates into sales as well, because your interested part of it also kind of applies to the reverse of what the interesting part of sales might be. Over promising, just saying stuff just to like get them in the door. You actually don't even know if you can really help them. Like, you're just trying to sell a Google package, and you're not actually trying to like be interested in their needs and see what's going on, so you can like prescribe them the right systematic solution, and then use like these vehicles to like carry out those solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a good case study. When I was, kind of doing sales as a loan officer, in the early 2000s, doing home loans for people. And, obviously, mortgages have been around forever. It's like, it's common. People do it. They buy houses, they refi. So there's purchase loans out there, refinance loans out there. And so I kind of came into this in the 2000s. I think it was 2003 to 2006. I was doing this. And basically, it was a time period where it was pretty busy. It was a pretty popular thing. Interest rates weren't as good as they are now, but they were decent compared to what they were before. And people were, refining their properties, cashing out, things like that. And so I was doing this, and the company that I was with was like, well, yes, we do have a great process. We have a lot of employees, a lot of reps out there in the field closing deals. Business is good, company's growing. But what they decided to do was they said, we want to start a new division in the company. And I thought, well, they approached me actually, and they said I was kind of, their I don't want to say guinea pig. It was kind of seen as a promotion. It was kind of like this cool concept, and they're like, hey James, we think you're doing really well, we want you to try this out and spearhead this project for us. So what they asked for me at the time was, they're saying we want to reach a whole new sector of businesses out there, and right now we're doing residential loans, things like that, reaching the homeowners. We want to reach business professionals that have their own book of business and have them refer their clients to us. And so I thought, wow, that sounds interesting. Like, tell me more, right? And so their idea was, we want to work with professionals that are out there that are like your attorneys, your business insurance or insurance companies, auto insurance, home insurance companies, people like CPAs and accountants, things like that. See, these are all business professionals that have their own book of business, probably regular customers they've had for years. And so I thought, well, so what's the idea? And so they were like, well, we're gonna ask these business individuals if they can refer their customers to us as a mortgage company to do their loans. And so it would be more like a referral partnership where, if they successfully did that, we would close the deal, and then they, these business individuals would get a percentage of the profits, right? So we did it legally, and it was all legit, and we ended up doing this for a while. And I was the only one making phone calls into that area, so I was calling CPAs, attorneys, and insurance professionals all day long for quite a few months. And after thousands of phone calls, I developed a short list of people. I had about 50 people on that list of people who were really interested to refer business to us. So it turned out really good, and the whole time, since this concept was so new to the industry, I had to put on this hat of being interested in my audience, right? Sure, I had the nice brochures I would pass out to them, and they even got a little pin with it, a lapel pin to like signify their official affiliate partner. So they had the nice, brochures, lapel pins, and business cards to pass out. So in a sense, we were still interesting, but the whole aspect was to put the focus on these business owners and be interested in who they were. So I had to really show a lot of interest in their industry, learn about their industry, and talk about their industry, and then ultimately show them the value they would get if they start referring business. And so, after all these thousands of phone calls, I narrowed it down to 50 people who were interested, and they were all local within, probably 20, 25 miles of the office.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was, can you imagine? I mean, I was doing a lot of office visits, driving out there, meeting people in the field, going to their homes, going to their buildings, just a lot of legwork to make this happen.
Do you mean like, so are you saying like you were able to get these 50 people who were like the right fit for what you were looking for because you took the time to like get interested and figure out like their industry and how do I explain it? Kind of just get a better idea of like each affiliate partner you create. You go, actually, I actually learned about their business and what we do and what kind of clients they have, and we would be a really good like lucrative team together. It's not just let's just mass get affiliates signed up.
Absolutely, yeah. You had it
Is that what
kind
you
of
mean?
yeah, you absolutely. You had to understand their business because in order to really make it make sense to them, like that, you would have to know how they operate, and then they'll go, yeah, totally. Like, um, I remember just talking to some of these CPAs, and some of these individuals, they weren't just regular CPAs; they're what you called EAs, and they're called enrolled agents. And so these enrolled agents, they're more high level. They have the ability to do tax returns for government agencies and government professionals. And
Yeah.
so these EAs are a little bit more, they carry more clout. And so I had to learn all about that whole business model, how does that work? And, what makes them special and different? And then pitch them. Yeah, well, this will work perfectly for your operations, feel free to, take a look at our lead sheet here. If you have any questions about, the form that they would have to fill out, it's pretty straightforward. It's just basic pre-qual information for a loan. If you want to just hand this out to your people, all you need to do is complete it and fax it back to me. Back then we used a lot of fax machines, and just go ahead and fax it back to me, and we'll take care of the rest. And so, really, to these now, let's say 50 people that I had, a mixture of insurance reps, lawyers, and also CPAs and EAs. It was just like, here's a lead sheet. All you need to do is fill it out, fax it back to me. I take care of the loan. We close the deal. And then on the back end of things, we'll pay you, it was 25% of all the profits. And so they're just thinking, cool, I'm just going to fax in as many of these as possible, and let's see what happens at the end of the month. And so, we did this for a while, and, there are some success stories in that where people were faxing some leads in, we closed some deals, but there's one particular person that stood out, and his name was Carlos. And the man, probably in his mid 50s, he was a CPA, and he was local to the area. And with him, I remember like going to his house a couple times, I first went out there to talk about the program, give him his lapel pin and the folder with all the brochures, and
Lapel pins.
you know what I mean? It was just this routine that I had, and that's some pretty nice stuff. So I liked it. So I passed it out, talked to him, shared it with him, and then and just really getting to know him, and get to know about his background and who he was and his business, and I think a little bit more about his family and so forth. And so I just connected with him, and sometimes he would even drive over to the office and come to my office, and we would sit down for a while and just chit chat. And but he was really excited about this whole program. He was, see, the thing is, like, a lot of times people, they don't make the connections. They don't go, oh yeah, it makes sense. They just think, oh, it's extra work, or I don't have time for that. But this man, he saw the light. He was just like, he connected the dots and was like, yeah, this totally makes sense. So he was really making this a part of his day-to-day activity.
So it worked
And
out really well because you both had a really good understanding of each other. So he was excited because he felt like you were as interested as he was.
yeah, it was almost like, we both were just working for the same cause, and I got my excitement level. First of all, you do have to be excited in your craft or what you're doing, but you have to be excited to pass that excitement on to the other person.
Yeah.
It's not
Affiliate
just, look how
programs are
cool
hard
I
to get
am.
excited over, for sure.
Yeah, what was that?
I said affiliate programs are hard to get excited over, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like,
So yeah.
yeah,
And
it's not
yeah,
until the affiliate program actually starts like pushing revenue, you're like, okay, now I'm excited. Because affiliate
yeah,
programs
yeah.
can be tough to get going.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's almost like you're creating a whole new business. You're just you have
Totally, yeah,
businesses.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So yes, it was definitely, it took some legwork, but then, I mean, what happened was he ended up connecting the dots, seeing the light, and then he just started taking steps to refer business. And I remember we were closing deals, and he would once we start closing business for him, he was or not walking, he was driving to our office, and he'd walk into my office and just be like so happy. I just remember big smiles on his face, like, oh man, we got another one, and here's another one. And he was like really ecstatic about the results. And so I don't know, I thought, wow, just the simple fact that Carlos is happy, and we're generating revenue for him and for our business as well. It was as far as I was concerned, it was a success in my eyes. And as far as this whole aspect of being interested and not interesting, in the end, what happens is you show the interest in the other person, you show them the value that you're going to bring them, you get to know them really well. And then when you start delivering results, now what happens is they then turn the table and start having interest in you. Like, wow, you guys did a great job. Like, thank you. Like, how do you guys do that? And, they take more of an interest in your operations. Now it's more symbiotic, where both parties are interested in each other, helping each other out, and everyone benefits. So that's eventually what you want to happen in these kinds of relationships. But it does take some time to get there, because there's, you have to build that trust first, and then deliver results. And then you got to, obviously sustain those results so that people get interested. So, but it's worth it, because once you have some successful clients like that, There's a lot of excitement there. So
That's interesting, James. Yeah. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. It is unique. It's a unique concept. It's kind of weird too, because it's kind of like you want to be a bit of both. You got to have, because on the advertising marketing side, you do have to have something intriguing, interesting,
Mhm.
but perhaps you could have an in-between approach, right? So obviously you have to kind of catch people's attention. But then on the other hand, after you get their attention, you could be interesting. You could be interested in about it, you know, which is
Mhm.
which is one of the coolest things I've discovered is, you have full control of what you want to put in front of people, right? And most businesses go for that really small percentage of people who want to just buy instantly now, or in the right
Mhm.
mindset or whatever. And when you do that, you're only creating one perception context of what those individuals are seeing, which most of the time it's like free quote, that kind of stuff. It's just any kind of ad you've ever seen that's kind of generic like that, right? So you instantly go, okay, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to get a phone call, and they're going to go, hey, ready to buy solar? And you're like, no, not really. I just signed up for like a free guide. I didn't expect to like get a sales call, you know.
Yeah.
So even if you run advertisements, let's just for the benefit of the doubt, even if you run advertisements that are after that small percentage of people, when people call you to follow up, they meet you in a whole new level, right? Because my where I'm at is basically the only interaction I had with that company. Okay, so let's just say I go on their website and it says the copy on the website says something about whatever it might be, a certain information. If I click on an ad or go to a landing page and take action there, there's certain copy and communication there. So my perception depends on where I had interaction with the company.
Mhm.
But what companies fail to do, this is another part of, the 3% of people they're trying to target. Another part that companies fail at is they don't meet the prospects where their last interaction ended. So an example is I hit a web an ad. This is just a really bad example. Let's just say it says, um, I don't know, learn about solar. Okay, get a free guide. Okay, cool. So I do that, and then instantly I get text messages after I opt in and emails from, hey, schedule a time with a solar consultant, and that sounds cool to me, I guess. But then I get on a call with a solar consultant, and they go, hey, so you're gonna think about get solar, and okay, so what's your house? Where do you live? What's your electric bill? And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa! I just signed up for a free guide. Like, can we talk about that? You know? And if you don't
Mhm.
answer this
Mhm.
phone call, they'll call you every single day for the next week. And that's not necessarily bad sales or a bad system, but the point is they're not even acknowledging where I'm at. They think I'm ready to
Yeah.
buy.
Yeah, that's so
They're
true.
not they're not calling me and going, hey, so you got the free guide. Did you read it? What do you think? Did it help?
Yeah.
How can we help you today? What questions do you have?
Right.
They're not meeting me where I'm at. They're meeting me where they want me to be at, which is credit card out, ready to buy. I'm approved. Come to my house, jump my roof, do an inspection. Let's do it. Like I'm just at the guide section.
Right. Right.
So there's a disconnect. But and the beauty of it is you have full control of what perception you want your prospects to have. But they lose that understanding for some reason, and they don't even meet them there. They go, oh, we just need to generate a lead and say this and this, and let's just say they do, and they go, why aren't we closing deals? Well, first of all, when you generate leads, you're nurturing them. It's a nurturing game. It's a pipeline building game. And then second of all, you're probably not even listening or knowing where you're meeting them. Your reps are just like trying to get a quick payday and not knowing like, no, these prospects, when you call them, they're at this point of our sales.
Yeah.
So
That's
meet
so
them
good.
there.
Yeah, that's
Meet them
right.
there and walk them to the next part.
Right. Yeah, our listeners who are listening right now, I mean, they're probably vast as far as their background, but I mean, the people who are listening that are in the lead generation game or even just sales in general, um, that's a good point, a solid point, because um, we always hear don't put the cart before the horse and things like that, and we're trying to close a deal when all they're saying is tell me more, and that's where kind of what I said earlier about the education piece comes into play. We always have to have an educational part of what we do, and it takes a little bit of legwork to think this way, but it's worth it, because if we have a way to explain things to people, and it's not just trying to sell them, but it's trying to really help them to, I mean, not that sales isn't going to help them, but educating in a way to teach and help them grow in their understanding, they're going to be like, wow, hey, thank you for that. I didn't know that your product or service does this or that. It really helps me to get a better grasp on things. Give me a few more, days to think about it, and I'll get back to you. That's perfectly fine. You've helped that person get to that next step. And like you're saying, Daniel, it's like it's a nurturing game. And as long as it's being nurtured, and to the right direction, we're doing the right thing. And
Yeah.
and
And
so
the
yeah.
only way, right? And the only way to get those like instant sales that people are always looking for,
Yeah.
it's not about, well, okay, it is the advertising, right? You got to have good systems, advertise, great. You need all that stuff. But
Right.
really, the golden ticket, which is kind of difficult sometimes and not always available, but finding starving markets, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one to say like to pick niches, like you got to be in real estate, you got to do this, you got to do that. Like sometimes it calls for it, sometimes it doesn't. But if you're trying to scale, it is probably 99% of the time crucial that you niche down to specifics. Okay, not necessarily like industry wise, but niche down to like, what is this specific campaign trying to do? Right? And we go, well, generate leads. Well, okay, sure. But more specifically, where do we want to meet these prospects? Well, we should probably target, which is like niching. Let's just say, again, an example. Let's just say, North New York, where North
Okay.
Colorado. North Colorado is starving because they have such little, I don't know, roofing companies, and they have a lot of old houses that need new roofs and stuff, and the area is pretty have wealthy residents, whatever it might be. Like that, we need to target that. There's a starving market there, and we need to niche down to what our specific campaign for that specific area is going to be. You see, and if
Yeah.
you can find that, that's where those quick sales come from. But you gotta have good copy, good psychology in your marketing, all that too. It's kind of a symbiotic relationship between everything. But for the most part, it's a long-term game. It's like someone sees your ad, they're probably not interested. Eventually they take action, they get in your ecosystem, you meet them where they are left off from your marketing, you nurture them, and then you start getting sales. And then over time you build your pipeline, and then it starts growing. And another crucial thing too is you need a team. You can't scale without a team. You got to have a marketing team. You got to have a sales team to like take care of all this stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
And then relating to sales, you really got to be like a surgeon in a way. Like when you're in a sales call, it's okay to be following your sales structure,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and reframing and, pushing the sale a bit, that's fine. But for how I work, it's sort of, I really hate convincing people. because it makes me lose motivation on it makes me lose motivation and doesn't necessarily help me believe in them that they're ready to actually grow as a business as well.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you have to convince people because you're like, no. Look, I know, but if you find someone who's in the right mindset, they are like, no, we are expecting to hire new people following this process. We want to grow. Normally, there's not a lot of convincing. It's normally just like there's a understanding. They feel we know what they're trying to do. We understand their business, and it goes from there. But when it comes to people trying to convince people, normally they're probably just not in the right mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But some of those people are just hard to convince, and you're trying to get them in, and they are in the right mindset, right? But my experience, I found like when someone's ready to do something, if they find the right person, they're going to do it, and they're in the right mindset. They scale. We make this thing happen. But I really hate convincing people.
Well, that's true. If the once the convincing stops, then that aspect of sales then uh, can dwindle, and then that person loses interest and they move on, right? So like there has to be an active person in closing the gap between okay, I'm a prospect and now I want to become a customer, right? So who's going to help them make that close there? And that's where the rep comes into play. We lean on brochures, we lean on literature to a certain extent, and all the systems and tools you're mentioning. But at the end of the day, there has to be a real person closing the deal. um, Now we could um, make this a longer term thing where they go down a nurturing pathway for a while, and what I like to see happen, because sometimes the customers close themselves, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They talk to a rep for a while, they get to information, stuff, educational stuff, and then they just decide, like actually it just happened with me yesterday. I'll tell my story in a little bit, but basically, yeah, well, yeah, there's an email marketing company that I was talking to for a while, and the rep was talking to me, emailing me, and then I kind of got busy, and then I kind of also lost interest, and then I also figured maybe I don't want to spend my money in that area. So I said, well, maybe now's not the right timing. So I had all these excuses, but then I also just he kept sending messages, and I kept thinking about it further. And then just yesterday I just had this kind of epiphany, and I concluded, well, no, you know what, this is a good decision. I'm going to spend the X amount of dollars to make this happen. And so I ended up sending him a credit card or whatever. I paid the bill, and so yeah, we took care of the invoice, and now we're going to get started with it. But and he didn't even give me like a final call to close the deal. I just did it on my own. So sometimes it's a situation where the customer is going to close themselves, and that's a beautiful thing, because you've done your part, and we've educated, and all this good stuff, and now they're just like, yeah, I have enough information, I can make this decision on my own. And they do, and then they move forward, and now they get serviced, right? So so what I guess what I'm trying to get to, this is a more subtle point that it could actually be a whole nother topic on Peppers and Flowers, is that there's this thing called a one call close that we talk about, and I think we did talk about it earlier on in some of our earlier episodes. But it's, see, the one call close isn't just always like I'm going to close this deal in one call. It's also a mentality of every phone call that I have with this person, I'm going to have this closing mentality, that I'm gonna give this person information to help them close the deal faster, by just being helpful, and all this good stuff. And what happens is they just close themselves sometimes. And so even though you're not trying to just literally close the deal and get a signature, they step forward and do it on their own. So the one call close technique is more of an attitude of things that, if you put it into practice, like you can really help someone close a deal, even without trying to ask for the, the money or the signature or whatever you're trying to do, and they just close themselves, you know.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. Like you can walk people down a path where they're like, they go, okay, we're ready to do this. And you're like, okay, great. And they go, what are the next steps? And okay, well, basically, we'll get you in. We'll do this, blah blah. Yeah, that happens. That happens to me here and there. Absolutely. And those usually happen with people who are really hungry. They're like really serious. They're like, this is what we want to do. We're in the right mindset. We want to make this happen. You know.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, exactly. It's not like every client's like that or every prospect, but yeah, that there's a certain percentage of people that do that does happen. The
Right. Yeah.
yeah the one yeah one call close. Yeah, exactly. It's really hard to close someone on the first call. I mean, I've had that happen maybe twice in this whole time I've done it, where they go, I mean, I'm interested. You're like, are you sure? Okay. Like, I'm interested. And then you call them and they go, yeah, we're ready to get started. And they go, all right, let's do it. And sometimes I stop people. I go, no, listen. Cause your reputation's on the line too. You don't want to just you're here to help people and make their business grow and stuff and be part of that. But sometimes I have to stop people and go, honestly, I don't think we're in the right space right now. Like, we should slow down. I don't think you understand really how this works. We need to go through a couple things first and then you can make your decision.
Yeah.
Sometimes I gotta slow people down a bit, but yeah, the one call close I think really is more of an interpretation of you basically get them in the right mindset. You get them in the right frame of mind, which is Sam's mindset, and you vet them to a point where you go, no, this would be a great client. We would work really well together. We get tons of results. It's going to work really, really well. And then you get them to the point where you've given all the information for them to give an answer. And most of the time it's a yes answer.
Hmm.
And that one call closes, you can, the next call you do, you get them on a call, and during that whole call, you get them on board. There's no like follow up at chasing after invoices or anything like that.
Hmm.
So in my opinion, I feel like one call closes happen for sure, but I really consider them more as you might do some follow up, and then you just have the skills to, when they're in the right mindset, the right time, you get them on a phone call, you walk them through the thing, you get them onboarded, you send the documents, everything's done, and then by the time you hang up, they're onboarded.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, the one call close happens, like perfectly sometimes where they do close in a single call, but more often than not, it's more of an attitude of a one call close that helps the prospect close themselves, even when you're not trying to do it yourself, because you have the right attitude and you're helping them make that decision. So I would say it's just the easier way to close business because you're not forcing the deal, you're not trying to be too aggressive or pushy. You're just being winsome and attractive and also at the same time educating, and then people come to close themselves and they're like, yeah, I want to work with this company.
Yeah.
And how cool is that if they're at their desk and they have like 3 or 4 proposals they're looking at, competition comes into play, and they're like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to go with Daniel, I'm going to go with James, I'm going to go with the company that's been very educational with me and very helpful. And that's where this whole aspect of being interested, oh my gosh, Daniel is like very interested in my company and in me as a person here and my success in the company. He's interested in the industry that I'm in, and they really have a knowledge of this. And so, yeah, we're going to go with them. You know what I mean? That's kind of the stuff that people make. They make those decisions on their own time at their own desk, based off of those thoughts, and so it's like, if we are interested in them, not only them, but their company, their industry, kind of like just what's going on with them as a business, like,
Yeah.
That's all helpful.
Yeah, exactly. So it's funny because like people want to go after that 3% that everyone else is going for prospects, and then companies are not even meeting their prospects where they left them off with their marketing. Like you went into an ecosystem somehow at some company with some sort of perception, and then when they call you, it's a completely different idea. You're like, whoa, what just happened? You know, that's kind of a main one. That's kind of another. It's not the main reason, but there's a ton of reasons why prospects aren't responsive or anything. And the only time they're ever responsive is when they opt in. That's it. And then you can't get a hold of them. Normally it's because, well, there's a lot of things. Who knows what they're doing, right? People live their lives. But it might be hard to get a hold of someone after initial phone call or something because that you were way ahead of them. You like lost them. They're like, this is not for me.
Right. Yeah.
They're like trying to close me on the first call, you know?
Yeah. Right.
And companies also, not every company, just a lot of companies I've been dealing with or come across, let's just say, no one's in it for the long game. And so they're all saying we got burned by agencies and marketers. And sometimes, yeah, that's unfortunate. It does happen. But most of the time, you're not in the right mindset. You're not in it for the long term.
Right.
You're in
Right.
it for instant 1 month $1 million expansion plan.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah. It's an investment. Yeah. You have to invest in people and then they'll invest in you.
But
It's kind of like that, right?
it's just like, look, you're in business. Like, do you want it to go somewhere, or you want it just to stay? Because if you want it to stay where you're at or have it decline, that you can decide that.
Yeah,
If you
absolutely.
want to push further, just think about what it took effort from you to get your
Yeah.
business to where it's at.
Right. Right.
Late nights, early mornings, long days,
Mm-hmm.
uh, cold calling and all this crazy stuff. Just think of everything you did to get to this point. Now
There you go.
imagine where you're at now and you want to get it to, and you want to double your yearly revenue in 18 months. Think about all the work you have to do.
Yep.
We can
Yep.
help and make things easier and set
Mm-hmm.
you up to do that, but just know, like, it's a collaborative effort. We can give
Mm-hmm.
you more opportunity to close more business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But are you
Right.
prepared to do that?
Yeah, that's good, Daniel. I think that's a good place to conclude our program today, man. That was pretty good for the audience to hear that. I mean, where are you? That's the question. Where are you as a business? Are you in scaling mode? Are you in initiation growth mode? Are you at the place where you're kind of comfortable where you're at and you're just trying to stay consistent now? I think every business owner has to ask themselves that question at some point. And if you want to scale and grow at a faster pace, what tools and resources do you have to make that possible? Are they internal? Are they external? Are they kind of more within development and research that you can make on your own? I mean, there's so many ways to go about it, but you're right.
always play the long-term game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who wants to stay in business just for the short term? We're in this so that we could continue to do what we love to do and we're passionate about, and and help others to enjoy it too. So, I mean, whether you're an entrepreneur just getting off the ground or you've been in business for a good number of years, just know the future is bright. And one last thing that even in this climate that we're in, I would say, if you're down with COVID and you're just, not personally down with COVID, but like with the situation we're in, this is a scalable time. It's a time to look within, and to innovate. And so, this is a time for us to really be mindful of, wow, what have I done up until this point as a business? What has been my successful recipe, so to speak? What's helped me come this far, and then what can I do to leverage me to go forward now? And a lot of brilliant people have done some great things during downtimes, like a pandemic, and so it shouldn't be a time for us to just like throw in the towel or give up, but it should be a time for us to innovate. And let's see, I mean, yeah, as business owners, and this is just me speaking from experience, sometimes the busyness of things, it ruins our time of reflection. If there wasn't a pandemic, we'd be, busy running around doing all kinds of stuff. And sometimes that busyness, it ruins or it limits our reflection time. And now that there is a pandemic, yeah, we're still busy. Sometimes, actually, some people are busier now. I've talked to a lot of people, and they're just so busy. But, it's not about being busy. It's about taking time to reflect. And so if we could all pause for a little bit, take some time to reflect, and from that place of reflection, think about the next steps for yourself, for your customers, for business in general, and
Yeah.
see what comes out of that. I really think a lot of good things can happen.
Oh, totally. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's some good stuff today. That was really good.
Absolutely. Well, friends, that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us for Peppers and Flowers. We hope to see you again next Saturday. Daniel and James signing off.